The Tolkien Road, Episode 81, The Lord of the Rings, The Departure of Boromir.
Alright, go ahead. The Tolkien Road, 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 the Tolkien Road,
Hey there, fellow travelers. Welcome to the Tolkien Road, a long walk through the works and philosophy of J.R.R. Tolkien. On this episode, we resume our journey through the Lord of the Rings with Book 3, Chapter 1, The Departure of Boromir. Before we get started, why not hop on over to iTunes and leave the Tolkien Road a rating and feedback? It's a great way to show your support for the show and takes less than a minute. Thanks for listening, and enjoy. Hey there, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Tolkien Road. John here. Greta.
Hey, hey. Hey, hey, hey.
Back to the Lord of the Rings we go.
Back to the Lord of the Rings. Hip, hip, hooray!
After a little detour through some other stuff. Yeah, so this may be the shortest chapter we're talking about. So, not only are we back to the Lord of the Rings, but we're starting with the Two Towers, right? Mm-hmm. And this may be the shortest chapter with the Departure of Boromir. It may be the shortest chapter in all of Lord of the Rings.
All of Tolkiendom?
Well, all of Lord of the Rings, not all of Tolkiendom.
Okay.
Pretty sure there's a couple in the Silmarillion that
That's true. There's a couple that are
shorter,
short. Yeah.
But still, I feel like there's a lot. There's a lot of good stuff in this chapter.
Yeah, I agree. It was riveting.
Yeah. Before we do talk about it, let's talk about some correspondence from listeners that we received.
Correspondence.
Yeah.
Woo-hoo.
So, we heard, last time, or maybe a couple episodes ago, we heard from a new listener named Aaron, and then his last name, I had pronounced it as Thiessen, but it turns out it's actually Thiessen, the H is silent.
Oh, the H is
silent.
So
he wrote back to correct me on that point, which is important because this being a Tolkien podcast, we want to get the pronunciations
we need to
of
get,
things
especially
right.
the pronunciation of names. That's
right.
very important. Yeah.
Exactly. So, that's why we stress the importance of saying Gandalf, right?
Gandalf.
Yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And Akalabeth.
Yeah.
Yes.
Akalabeth.
That's what I said.
No, you didn't say it right.
Akalabeth.
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 That's what I said.
No, it's not. And last time you were saying Isildur. It's Isildur.
See, that sounds the same to me.
Actually, I think you may have been saying it right, and I may have been saying it wrong all this time.
That's probably what happened.
Probably.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been able to figure out the exact right way to say Mithros and Miglin. I feel like I always get their names wrong.
Because didn't you say Meglin when we were talking about it?
Well,
last time?
Mithros is the double whammy because he's got the AE and then he's got the DH.
Oh, yeah.
And I've figured out that the DH is supposed to be kind of a hard it's like Medros, Thros, and but the AE is like I want to say it like an ash, like the actual AE lettered together. But anyway, so listeners. Aaron wanted to say that his name is pronounced Thiessen. So
good to know.
So you say it like Thiessen. That's what he says. And then he submitted 3 haiku, which we'll get to later.
3?
3, yeah.
Ooh,
for the first time.
Overachiever. That's awesome.
That's right. That's what we inspire in people here on the Tolkien Road. Overachievement.
You know it. Next
we heard from I'll save that one. That's another haiku. And let's see. Oh, Matt Scarrance. Matt said, "Hello, John and Greta Carswell. I found the show about a year ago looking for a Catholic Tolkien podcast and have followed your journey through the Lord of the Rings, as well as catching up on the Silmarillion episodes that I missed. It was exciting to finally finish Bilbo's translations from the Elvish in this episode, but I hope it's not the end of your journeys in the First Age. In particular, it'd be great if you could do of Tuor and his coming to Gondolin from Unfinished Tales at some point. perhaps as Aragorn's backstory is explored more.
Oh.
I considered it the greatest tragedy of Tolkien's literary life that this was never finished, but then Tuor is my favorite hero of the First Age, possibly of the whole legendarium. His virtuous heroism provides a great counterbalance to the story of Tauren. Keep up the good work. I hope to meet you in Rohan at the beginning of Book 3 in an episode soon. And
Awesome.
thus you shall, because we shall be exploring Book 3, beginning our exploration of Book 3 tonight in Rohan. Well, not quite in Rohan.
Right.
Rohan comes in
But
next
book
chapter.
3. You know what's funny is I opened this. I took the Two Towers to soccer practice tonight,
Mm-hmm.
and I was going to read. And when I opened the book, it said Book 3, and I was like, I brought the wrong book. I was supposed to bring Two Towers, not Return of the King. And then I quickly closed the book and was like, oh wait, this is Book 2. It's not Book 3.
So, wait, you're a soccer player? Do you know David Beckham?
No, don't know David Beckham. I know his wife though. She and I were in the Spice Girls together.
You're in the Spice Girls together?
Mhm.
Oh, wow. Matt, thanks for your comment.
Yes,
Great
thank
to hear
you.
from you.
Thank you. It was really, really great.
Yeah, and yes, to answer your question, we plan to get to just about everything that Tolkien ever wrote at some point. So, and I expect that there's definitely unfinished tales. We've already covered, one of the sections in Unfinished Tales with this of the Astari, the one we did on Gandalf.
Oh, right. Yes.
And Gandalf, the one we did on Gandalf,
Right.
and I'm sure we'll get to of Tuor and the fall of Gondolin, and his coming to Gondolin. I'm sorry. Well, I'm sure we'll get to that story sooner rather than later. So
I hope so, because what he just said about it makes me really want to read it.
me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
You haven't read it?
I don't know if I've ever read the whole thing.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But that's why I'm doing this podcast. Is so I
Yeah.
go and I read everything.
So you have motivation to
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I dig it. Well, thanks, Matt. Great to
Yeah.
hear from you.
great to hear from you. And
Right again.
Definitely. And submit some haiku if you want to.
Yeah.
All right.
That too.
We got, let's see, any more? Oh, and we have a short comment from a listener named Hermione P. And
Is that her real name?
we'll see, okay? So
Okay.
I don't know, but we'll see. And she says, been listening to back episodes for some time now and enjoy the haiku segment. In all seriousness, I would like to hear your take on Harry Potter. As far as I know, there isn't a Harry Potter chapter-by-chapter podcast with haikus. I think that's the important qualification, is that there may be a chapter-by-chapter podcast,
right,
but not one with
does
haikus.
it include haikus? That
Uh,
qualifies it. Yeah.
No, well, what's our take on Harry Potter, Greta?
I love Harry Potter.
Yeah. I mean, we both love Harry Potter.
We bought the last book as soon as it came out,
Yeah.
and then fought over it.
Yeah.
And we would steal it from each other,
Mm-hmm.
and then had a race to see who could finish it first.
Which you think, we had plenty of money, why didn't we just buy two?
I know. Why don't we just buy two?
Like,
Because it was more fun just to fight over it.
Probably.
I guess.
probably.
Yeah.
I think they had to ration them at that point because they were, everybody wanted to know what happened at the end,
That could
right
be.
when it came out.
That could be.
Yeah. I mean, we're both big Harry Potter fans, as are our kids,
Mm-hmm.
and in fact, one of our kids our oldest child, who, at the time was 10, had finished all 7 Harry Potter books by the time she was 9 or 10.
Yeah, it's been a couple of years.
Yeah.
At least.
So, and then our next in line, he just finished The Sorcerer's Stone,
And he's working on the second
Yeah.
one. Mm-hmm.
and we watched the movie version
Mhm.
maybe a week and a half ago, something like that. So we both love Harry Potter. I mean, I love the idea of doing a Harry Potter podcast chapter by chapter, but I just don't know if we have the bandwidth to make it happen, for ourselves. I feel like, and I feel like there's so many Harry Potter, super Harry Potter fans out there that would put us to shame.
Yeah, we probably don't know enough.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
probably not intense enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Although it would be cool to do that, and then because since J.K. Rowling is alive and everything, it'd be cool to do one, and then she's like, "Hey, yeah, I'll come on your podcast and be an interview."
That would be
cool.
amazing. That would be very cool.
But yeah, I just don't know that it's in the cards for us anytime soon.
At least not in the near future.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
But
Who
I love
knows?
the idea.
I do
really
too. I do too. And so well, thanks for writing,
Yeah,
Hermione.
thank you. Absolutely.
And if you are the Hermione from the actual Hermione or Harry Potter universe, then thanks for reaching out. And I didn't know you were such a Tolkien fan. That's awesome. Although I don't think so, because her name was Hermione Granger. And
this is Hermione P.
Yeah, this is Hermione P. And then, even then she marries Ron Weasley, so she would be Hermione Weasley, unless she kept her name. I don't know, but anyway, so definitely she's not Hermione P. Mm-hmm. Unless she decided to do some kind of weird thing where she just picked the last name that was like halfway from between Granger and Weasley, and so maybe she picked like Presley or something like that. Hermione Presley. That
could happen.
Yeah. Probably. That's probably what happened.
Probably.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. So, the departure of Boromir.
Yes.
Boromir departs.
Which I think is, I don't know, I was just thinking about when the departure.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's very interesting that Tolkien uses the word departure
mm-hmm.
as opposed to death or fall.
Right.
Or, it's
that's
like
a good point.
He's just leave. It's like, it's not like he's gone forever. It's like he's just left
mm-hmm.
and he's gone somewhere else.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I kind of jumped ahead a little bit. Sorry.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
So I thought I hadn't thought of that, but it is it is interesting that he terms it the departure
mm-hmm.
of Boromir, as
mm-hmm.
if he's taking off on a journey.
Yeah. I think it probably has a lot to do with the song that.
Yeah.
Aragorn which I know we'll get to, but Aragorn and Legolas, that song that they sing.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the title of the chapter, I think, was probably very much inspired by that
mm-hmm.
ditty. But anyway.
Yeah, so we kind of pick up right where we left off with Fellowship, where Fellowship leaves off.
Right.
So the last thing we know is that Frodo and Sam depart for Mordor. They leave the rest of the party and journey across the river Anduin to Mordor. Mm-hmm. We also know that Boromir had tried to take the ring from Frodo.
Right.
Yep. But had failed.
Mm-hmm.
And he seemed to repent pretty quickly. He seemed to kind of know that he had made a huge mistake very quickly.
Yes, he did seem repentant.
And so this chapter leads off with Aragorn searching for Frodo, not being able to find him, and then all of a sudden he hears the horn of Boromir.
Right.
It says, then suddenly with a deep-throated call, a horn blew, and the blast of it smote the hills and echoed in the hollows, rising in a mighty shout above the roaring of the falls. The horn of Boromir, he cried, he is in need. He sprang down the steps and away, leaping down the path. Alas, an ill fate is on me this day, and all that I do goes amiss. Where is Sam? And so he goes in search of the sound. And I find it really interesting that as he hears the orcs and he draws his sword, and he yells Elendil, Elendil.
Yes.
As he crashes through the trees.
Mm-hmm.
Which, of course, do you remember who Elendil is?
I remember the name from the Silmarillion.
Yeah. Well, it's actually not in the Silmarillion proper.
It's not?
It's in...
Oh, it's in the books that come after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which are?
Something about the Third Age.
Well, you just said it before, just a minute ago. You just said the name of the first one.
The first one? Oh, Calabath.
Yes. Yeah.
Calabath.
Yeah.
Yes.
And of the Rings of Power in the Third Age. That's
right.
right. So, Elendil is the father of Isildur, right?
Right.
So he's the leader of the remnant, the
mm-hmm.
faithful Numenorians. So
yes,
it's interesting to me that Aragorn calls his name here.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe because Elendil led the battle against Sauron. The last alliance of Minas.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's a good call.
So he finds Boromir kind of sitting with his back to a great tree as if he were resting, and he's been pierced with many black feathered arrows. And they have this little dialogue. They go back and forth, and Boromir basically feels like he failed, right? Mm-hmm. That he says, "I tried to take the ring from Frodo. I am sorry. I have paid. They have gone. The halflings, the orcs have taken them. I think they are not dead. Orcs bound them." And he says, "Farewell, Aragorn. Go to Minas Tirith and save my people. I have failed." Right.
Mm-hmm.
And at that, Aragorn tries to reassure him. And I found this whole scene very moving. Like, Aragorn says, "You have conquered. Few have gained such a victory. Be at peace. Minas Tirith shall not fall." I mean, what do you think about Aragorn saying "you have conquered" right there?
Well, I think it can be interpreted a couple different ways. I think that right there, obviously, I mean, he killed like 20 plus orcs, right, and some other nasty creatures all on his own.
Right.
So he had, in a sense, conquered those, the evil beings that were after him. But then he also conquered his, I don't know, like his demons, his inner demons.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, he's kind of been, like, Boromir's been kind of, I would say, the least likable of the Fellowship, at least to me.
Yeah.
Because it seems like he's always, like, throwing a fit about something, or complaining, or disagreeing, or wanting to do his own thing, or save his own people, and he just seems a little selfish.
Mm-hmm.
But here, he's clearly given himself, like, he gave his life for the halflings, right? Like, he was defending Merry and Pippin when he died, and so I that's just kind of...
Yeah, it's, I don't know, I struggle with whether Aragorn is just kind of like, if he's being a little sentimental or just trying to comfort him in his last moments, but I want to give him the benefit of the doubt because I feel like maybe the way that Boromir has conquered, you think about, especially having just read, like, the story of Numenor and the story of the Rings of Power in the Third Age, and to think about Gondor being this kingdom that's, like, right there, like, kind of always besieged by the forces of Mordor, right? Always having to hold the line. And how does Boromir think he failed? Well, he thinks he failed because he tried to take the ring from Frodo, right? And it's like, who wouldn't have, right? I mean, very few would not have, and especially given Boromir's background. And how did Boromir want to use it? He wanted to use it for the defense of his people, right?
Yeah.
In order to provide some relief to his people.
Right. He wanted to use it for good.
So his motives here were good motives. I don't know if they were, if you can quite call them pure, but they were good motives, right? And to be sure, even when Frodo runs off, he does repent. Like, he sincerely realizes that he screwed up, and he tries to make it right by killing a bunch of orcs, and by sounding the alarm, right?
And he confesses to Aragorn.
Yeah, it's interesting. That's an interesting point. That he's like, it's almost like a confession, like a deathbed confession.
Yeah. He didn't want to die with that on his conscience, I don't think.
Yeah.
Which that in itself took great courage to do.
Right.
I think. Especially to Aragorn, who I feel like Boromir probably feels like a lot of the time that he's kind of in Aragorn's shadow. Like he's kind of the second best, right?
Right.
So that may be another thing that he's talking about too.
Yeah.
Him just having the courage to come clean.
Right.
And not try to hide that.
Yeah. It's a different way of seeing the idea of being a conqueror, right? But yeah, I mean, I think definitely what you said is how Aragorn intends it, is that he conquered something internal, like he conquered kind of these internal demons, and he did. He came a long way trying to find aid for his people, and there's a good chance they wouldn't have made it as far as they did, even if it hadn't been for Boromir with them, right? And his sword, right? Yeah. They definitely have suffered a lot of peril all along the way. So
definitely.
So that is the Death of Boromir.
Which I think I just want to mention real quick too. When we did our episode on the movie. Yeah. The movie, like the Fellowship of the Ring movie, goes like this is toward the end of that movie, right? And I think that they did this scene very well in the movie.
Yeah, I thought so.
I think it was very touching and very moving. and I think it was very true to the book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so too. I mean, there's definitely they do a little more with the dialogue in the movie than is here. I mean, Boromir. There's no kind of like long drawn out discussion between Boromir and Aragorn here. It's kind of like you're expecting it to keep going, and it's like it says. Aragorn says, "Few have gained such a victory. Be at peace. Minas Tirith shall not fall." And Boromir smiles, and Aragorn says, "Which way did they go? Was Frodo there?" And it says, "But Boromir did not speak again." Right. So it's like you'd expect him to like tell everything, but he doesn't. He dies. So
he dies. Yeah.
It's interesting, maybe also to think about it in terms of, like the death of. Like the people of Numenor, it's like early on they died like peaceful deaths. Like they died deaths where like they were okay with the fact that they were dying. They didn't know what lay beyond for them, but they were kind of okay with it. So I wonder if what Aragorn says here has something to do with that Boromir doesn't die like some kind of like fearful, kind of, he doesn't die like this fearful death of like pagan darkness, right? It's like, which later on we'll see Gandalf kind of contend with his father, Denethor, with Boromir's father, Denethor, about just such a thing. So maybe that has something to do with it as well.
About dying a hero?
Yeah, like that. Well, just dying at peace. Dying more at peace.
I see.
Right.
I see. Yeah.
Anyway, just speculating there. Well, so they still don't know exactly what became of the hobbits. All they know is that Boromir seems to think that the orcs took them alive.
Right.
And so they have to, so right now they just think all 4 of the hobbits have been taken by the orcs somewhere.
Right.
And they start to notice other things about these particular orcs that surprise them a little bit.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
So Gimli and Legolas kind of come after they rejoin Aragorn after Boromir has died.
Mm-hmm.
Were they just kind of off somewhere else fighting more orcs? Is that where they were?
I assume so.
Okay.
I assume so. Yeah.
Okay. And then they come back, and that's when they kind of survey the battlefield. Yeah,
they kind of try to figure out what they can, and they say. Aragorn notices, he says, "Here lie many that are not folk of Mordor. Some are from the north, from the misty mountains, if I know anything of orcs and their kinds. And here are others, strange to me. Their gear is not after the manner of orcs at all." And it says, "There were 4 goblin soldiers of great stature, swart, slant-eyed, with thick legs and large hands. They were armed with short, broad-bladed swords, not with the curved scimitars usual with orcs. And they had bows of yew in length and shape like the bows of men. Upon their shields they bore a strange device, a small white hand in the center of a black field. On the front of their iron helms was set an S rune, wrought of some white metal." Aragorn says, "I have not seen these tokens before. What do they mean?" Gimli just assumes the S stands for Sauron, but Aragorn says, and Legolas says, "Nay, Sauron does not use the elf runes." And Aragorn surmises also that they're not of Sauron, because he says, these orcs, the orcs in the service of Mordor, of Barad-dûr, use the sign of the red eye. And so they guess that S is for Saruman, and that Saruman is up to his own evil tricks. So the white hand is the mark of Saruman's orcs. Right?
Yep.
That's their...
Which makes sense, because he's Saruman the White, right? So it makes sense that it would be white.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that it's a hand rather than an eye. It's a hand kind of maybe reaching out to grasp. Yeah. To grasp the ring, perhaps. To extend his reach. Into Middle-earth.
Yeah, very good.
So the next section really deals with giving, how they're going to dispose is the wrong term, but how they're going to treat Boromir's body now that he's dead, right? Because they're not just going to leave it here in the wilderness for crows to eat or for other orcs to come upon and what's the word I'm looking for?
I know what you're talking about. Like basically defame.
Not defame. It's desecrate.
Desecrate.
Like desecrate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Desecrate his body. They're not going to allow him to do that. So they decide they're going to make a boat for him, and a tiny little boat for him, put his body in it, and they're going to send it over the falls of the Anduin, and he'll just be carried down the falls all the way down the Anduin, all the way to the Great Sea. Mm-hmm. So
I thought that was
that
was an appropriate means of burial.
Right. Yeah, I think so. And at least this way he'll pass through Gondor on his way to the sea.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the Anduin flows through Osgiliath, which is right there in the center of Gondor.
Right.
Kingdom of Gondor.
Yep.
All right, so I wanted to take some time to read there. So we have these elegies that they sing for Boromir. These poems here, and they're quite beautiful.
What's an elegy?
An elegy is like a mournful poem, like in tribute to someone who's died.
So it's not like a eulogy.
No. Yeah.
But a eulogy is a tribute to someone that's died.
Yeah, but it's not a poetic one.
Okay, this is a poetic eulogy, basically.
A eulogy is like a speech you give at a funeral about somebody, right?
Right.
To eulogize someone.
Right.
An elegy is like a song for someone who's died.
Got it.
Okay. So let's see. You want to just go 2 lines back and forth?
Sure.
So we'll do Aragorn's first, and then we'll do Legolas, and then we'll do the other one from Aragorn.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds good.
Through Rohan over fen and field, where the long grass grows, the west wind comes walking, and about the walls it goes.
What news from the west, O wandering wind, do you bring to me tonight? Have you seen Boromir the Tall by moon or by starlight?
I saw him ride over 7 streams, over waters wide and grey. I saw him walk in empty lands until he passed away.
Into the shadows of the north, I saw him then no more. The north wind may have heard the horn of the son of Denethor.
O Boromir, from the high walls westward I looked afar, but you came not from the empty lands where no men are. So what jumped out? What stood out to you about that poem?
Well, I thought that it's just kind of, it's very haunting.
Yeah.
And it kind of reminded me of like on a lot of houses they have these widow walks. And for the women to stand out and watch for their men to come back from sea, and a lot of times they're called widows walks, right? Because they don't come back.
Right.
And so it just kind of reminded me of that hopeful looking for something that's never going to appear.
Yeah.
And it's very sad.
Yeah. Well, the letter W, a W alliteration is very strong in this poem. So you have west wind, walking, walls, what news from the west, wandering wind, waters wide, walls westward. Yeah, so you have a lot of W's going on here, which that sound is very strong in the poem too.
What significance does that have?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I was just kind of thinking of it. I feel to me like that sound is a very whenever you hear that, why, right?
When, where?
It's like why. It made me think of why did Boromir have to die, right? So it's this long, it's this mournful sort of longing for an answer that it's kind of like what you were hinting at, but in a more philosophical way. Why did he have to die?
Why is he not coming back?
Right.
Why is he gone forever? Yeah.
And then Legolas picks it up. From the mouths of the sea, the south wind flies, from the sand hills and the stones. The wailing of the gulls it bears, and at the gate it moans.
What news from the south, O sighing wind, do you bring to me at eve? Where now is Boromir the fair? He tarries, and I grieve.
Ask not of me where he doth dwell, so many bones there lie, on the white shores and the dark shores under the stormy sky.
So many have passed down Anduin to find the flowing sea. Ask of the north wind news of them, the north wind sends to me.
O Boromir, beyond the gate the seaward road runs south, but you came not with the wailing gulls from the grey sea's mouth. So, and so this also helps. So I think, maybe the reason in this, it's a Gimli's comment after they're done, about only leaving the east for him. You've got the west, so that's the west wind, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the first one by Aragorn, right? The west wind comes walking, and then now you have the south wind, right, from Legolas, and so there's lots of S sounds.
Yes, there are
down here.
I did notice that. I was looking for it this time.
And so I'm guessing there's going to be a lot of N sounds, or maybe the north wind in the next one. But I don't know. Anything else jump out at you about this one? I mean, it's beautiful.
It is really beautiful.
They're just beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we need to spend a ton of time just picking them apart, but they're just kind of beautiful to hear. That aspect was, of course, very important to Tolkien, and that was one of the reasons I think he loved sort of the ancient poetry of like Northern Europe so much, was because they used a lot of alliteration.
Yeah.
Sounded a lot like these poems. All right, well, we'll do the last one. Okay. This is Aragorn. From the Gate of Kings the north wind rides, and past the roaring falls, and clear and cold about the tower its loud horn calls.
What news from the north, O mighty wind, do you bring to me today? What news of Boromir the bold? For he is long away.
Beneath Amon Hen I heard his cry. Their many foes he fought. His cloven shield, his broken sword, they too the water brought.
His head so proud, his face so fair, his limbs they laid to rest. And Rhoros, golden Rhoros falls, bore him upon its breast.
O Boromir, the tower of guard shall ever northward gaze, till Rhoros, golden Rhoros falls, until the end of days.
So they get the answer at the end. The North Wind answers, right? So the first two, it seems like they keep asking questions. Mm-hmm. And then the North Wind is the one that provides the answer of what happened to him.
Yeah, it's interesting. They asked, did maybe the North Wind heard his cry in the first one, and then they say, beneath Amon, and then the North Wind speaks and says, beneath Amon Hen I heard his cry, their many foes he fought. His head so proud, his face so fair, his limbs they laid to rest, and Rhoros, golden Rhoros falls, bore him upon its breast. And the tower of guard shall ever northward gaze to Rhoros until the end of days, to the falls of Rhoros.
And that was another one of the titles for Boromir, right? Was Tower of the Guard, because he's the one that would stand in the white tower.
Is that one of them?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I googled it.
Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Thanks.
Good call.
Yeah.
Way to Google something.
Yeah.
No, that's interesting. I didn't realize that. Good stuff. So, I just, I was very moved by those poems when I read them, when I was reading it earlier. They
could just come up with it, just on the fly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's pretty impressive.
Absolutely. Well, what's great is that, through this whole process of kind of quickly mourning Boromir, one thing they learn is they realize that Frodo and Sam must have gone across the river and escaped the orcs.
Because there's only 2 boats.
Right.
So
they realize that, okay, Frodo and Sam got away. Merry and Pippin are with the orcs, right? Mm-hmm. And they're going in different directions.
Right. So they have to choose.
They have to choose. Aragorn has to make a choice. Mm-hmm. And he's really troubled over this choice for a little while, and then they go through this process of grieving and of singing these songs, and it's like it helps make it clear.
It helps make things clear. Yeah.
And so they decide they're going to, well, let's read a little bit about how Aragorn arrives at this decision. So it says, so Aragorn did not answer at once, but went back to the camping place and looked at the baggage. 2 packs are missing, he said, and one is certainly Sam's. It was rather large and heavy. This, then, is the answer. Frodo has gone by boat, and his servant has gone with him. Frodo must have returned while we were all away. I met Sam going up the hill, and told him to follow me, but plainly he did not do so. He guessed his master's mind and came back here before Frodo had gone. He did not find it easy to leave Sam behind. But why should he leave us behind, and without a word, said Gimli. That was a strange deed. And a brave deed, said Aragorn. Sam was right, I think. Frodo did not wish to lead any friend to death with him in Mordor. But he knew that he must go himself. Something happened after he left us that overcame his fear and doubt. Maybe hunting orcs came on him and he fled, said Legolas. He fled, certainly, but not, I think, from orcs. What he thought was the cause of Frodo's sudden resolve and flight, Aragorn did not say. The last words of Boromir he long kept secret. And so it's interesting, like, he doesn't let them know that Boromir attacked Frodo and tried to take the ring from him. Maybe that had something to do with Aragorn making his decision not to go after Frodo and Sam, knowing that, okay, Boromir almost committed, a very evil act here. Tried to commit a very evil act under the influence of the ring. Maybe it is that Frodo just needs to take this path himself.
I think Aragorn's worried about falling into the same
maybe part of it.
Trap, yeah.
And then Aragorn finally says, and now may I think a right choice and change the evil fate of this unhappy day. And he stands silent for a moment, and he says, I will follow the orcs. I would have guided Frodo to Mordor and gone with him to the end, but if I seek him now in the wilderness, I must abandon the captives to torment and death. My heart speaks clearly at last. The fate of the bearer is in my hands no longer. The company has played its part. Yet we that remain cannot forsake our companions while we have strength left. Come, we will go now. Leave all that can be spared behind. We will press on by day and dark. So Aragorn finally has his decision, and they're going to give chase to the orcs. And that means they'll give chase to the orcs and eventually find their way to Minas Tirith in order to help with the defense of Minas Tirith.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, there you go. I like this little last bit. We will make such a chase as shall be accounted a marvel among the three kindreds, elves, dwarves, and men. Forth the three hunters.
Yes.
So in this you also have kind of a smaller fellowship of the three kindred, the three ancient kindreds, right?
Yes.
The men, the elves, the dwarves, the two children of Iluvatar, and then the children of Aule, the adopted children of Iluvatar, right?
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Interesting.
Yeah. All right. Any other thoughts on this chapter?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah. It's a short but good one.
Yeah.
Very, very moving chapter.
Absolutely.
Well, that's good. So, if no questions, then let's do some haiku.
Yeah, let's do it. Are you gonna sing?
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 syllables in haiku. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 syllables in haiku. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 syllables in haiku. Nice. Jinx.
Double jinx.
You owe me a Coke. All right. Well, that works out pretty well.
Yeah, I like that.
Right on. Okay.
Haiku time.
Haiku. Yeah, okay, we got our haiku here. So, first of all, Josh, superfan Josh Sosa sent us a note, and he said, "Hey Carswells, forgive me for forgetting haikus this week. It is Comic-Con here in New York, so my mind is elsewhere."
What is Comic-Con?
Comic-Con is like, it's like this huge convention of like all kinds of like comic book and Star Wars and all kinds of stuff, like Lord of the Rings, all kinds of stuff like that, like
That
Marvel,
sounds
DC.
really cool.
It's totally awesome, apparently. Not that I've ever been, but
Is it only in New York?
I'm not cool enough to go to something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If only we were.
Yeah, oh well. There's one in New York, and I think there's one in San Diego every year. I think that's right. Maybe
okay.
Los Angeles.
Okay.
So Josh, unfortunately, he did send a note, but he didn't submit haiku, so I just wanted to read that.
Right. Well, it's good to know that he hasn't forgotten about us.
Yeah. Well, wait, do we want to do ours first, or do we want to do the other ones that were submitted?
Let's do the other ones.
Okay. Well, let's go with Mary Grace. So I saw Mary Grace today, actually.
Oh, that's right.
What's up, Mary Grace? All right, here's Mary Grace's haiku. Boromir conquers. Thus passes Denethor's heir. Gondor shall not fall. Nice.
That's really good.
Good stuff.
Very good.
And then we have Rob Fangman. Good old Rob. All right.
That was really good. I like that, Mary Grace. Well
Yeah,
done.
absolutely.
Oh, I'm sorry, who's next?
Rob. Good old Rob. Rob Fangman.
Rob.
All right. We've got... You want to read this one?
Sure.
All right.
Boromir the Brave. To the wind they committed, true son of Gondor.
Nice.
I like that.
To the wind they committed.
To the wind they committed.
Yeah. Nice.
Very, very nice. Well done, Rob. Thank you.
Well done. Well done. And then, as I mentioned, we've got Aaron Thiessen.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yep. Who submitted
otherwise known as Aaron Thiessen with the silent H.
Silent H.
That's right. Aaron Thiessen. And he's got 3 haiku.
That's awesome.
So
3 is the magic number.
3 is the magic number.
Mm-hmm.
What does it all mean? All right, so we'll do. You want to do one, then I'll do one, and then maybe we'll do paper rock scissors to see who does the last one.
All right, sounds good. Here's the first one. Over Rauros Falls, down the Anduin, to the great sea, it was said. Nice. I love water.
I'm next, right?
Yeah, you're next.
Boromir's horn sounds, but it is too late. He dies defending hobbits. Nice.
Very, very good. I like that.
All right.
All right, ready?
We got to figure out who's going first on our haiku too. So let's do.
Okay. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. 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 Oh, darn it. Darn it.
All right, why don't you do it?
Oh, okay. They sing of the west. Oh, sorry. I'm going to start that over. They sing of the west wind, of the south and the north, but none of the east.
Nice.
I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Very well done.
It's
Kind of knocked it out of the park on your haiku debut there, Aaron.
Nice. Yes.
Very, very
You did.
nice.
You did.
Mm-hmm.
Well done, Aaron.
Keep them coming.
Keep them coming.
That's what I just said.
Well, I said it more slowly, more deliberately.
I said it more peppy and energetic and sincerely.
Well, then you go first on your haiku.
Oh, you want me to go first? Yeah. Okay, fine.
If you're so peppy and energetic.
I only wrote 1. You wrote 2.
I did write dose.
So you sure you don't want to go first? All right.
You wrote 2. There's 2 there.
What?
There's 2 there. I see your screen.
No, but I didn't finish the one of them.
It's only a
Maybe
haiku
I can
fragment.
Yeah, it's only 10 syllables. No, 12. It's only 12. Anyway, here's my complete one.
So it's like a hike.
It's a hike. Yes, it's a hike. It's a hike.
Hike. We're talking about
the
the
Prime
Prime Minute.
All right. Here's my complete haiku. A valiant friend swept away. 3 hunters go forth seeking revenge. Mm-hmm.
Pretty spiffy, Greta.
Oh, I know you like
Nice.
it.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. I was kind of sort of proud of that one.
Yeah, good job.
Yeah,
Good job.
thanks.
Read it again for me.
A valiant friend swept away. 3 hunters go forth seeking revenge.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Awesome sauce.
Yeah, I bet you're wishing you had gone after me now. I mean, before me.
Well, no, I mean, wait till you hear these.
Oh, yeah. Good thing I'm sitting down.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Boromir. Songs of sorrow lament your fall, yet in depth and... Ugh, I messed it
That
up.
was awesome, John.
Shut up, you. Boromir. Songs of sorrow lament your fall, yet in death you triumph.
Very, very lovely.
Thank you.
I like that.
And here's the next one. Thunderous tones. The horn sounds alarm. The king gains vision in disaster.
Who's the king? Is it Aragorn?
Of course. Aragorn.
Oh, yeah. Son of Isildur.
Right.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Well done.
I know it was good. You didn't have to tell me that.
I still like mine better, but it was pretty good.
Fine. We'll just have to agree to disagree.
That's fine. I'm good with that.
Alrighty.
What matters is that we all did a good job.
Yes, let's all give
We're
ourselves...
all winners.
Let's all give ourselves pats on the back.
Pats on the back.
Yeah. Alright.
Yeah.
I'm good enough. I'm smart enough. And gosh darn it, people like me.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's what John says to himself in the mirror every morning when he wakes up.
Every morning.
Mm-hmm.
And night before I go to bed.
That's right.
Mm.
And then throughout the day, whenever he feels like it.
And then whenever I'm about to cry throughout the day. All right, so next time, what do we got? We got, Chapter 2. Book 3, Chapter 2.
Right. What's that called?
The Riders of Rohan.
Oh, yeah.
The Riders of Rohan. So, haiku for those, let's see, we're recording this episode a little bit earlier than we normally record. So, haiku for those will be due on, because this episode should be posted around the 15th. So, haiku for those will be due on the 19th of October. So, try to get them in
Okay.
by the 19th of October.
I'll do my best.
All right.
All right. I think that's a wrap.
Right on. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yes, thank you guys.
And
Thanks for all the correspondence. Please. We
Yes.
love it.
Yes.
Give us more. Send us more.
Absolutely. Oh, by the way, if you didn't listen to the last episode we did on the Silmarillion, my book, Tolkien's Requiem, is available in paperback, PDF, and MP3 versions now. So go get yourself one, or two, or three,
Or 4 or 5.
or 5, or 6. Yeah.
Yeah, it's making a dozen.
They make great Christmas presents. They're perfect size to be stocking stuffers, in fact.
That's true, they are.
So for the Tolkien fan in your life. That's right.
I think that's a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I totally get you one, except you wrote it. So.
Yeah. It's all up here in my
It's
head.
up there in your brain. You don't need one.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's already got a happy home up there. Okay. With, cozy socks on and everything.
Just chilling out by the fireplace.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right, reading itself.
I'm really starting to get creeped out. Okay, can we just sign off?
Okay. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Please remember to check out truemyths.org for show notes and plenty of other Tolkien goodness. Also, if you're enjoying the podcast, would you please leave the Tolkien Road a rating and feedback on iTunes? It's a great way to support the show and takes less than a minute. On our next episode, we'll continue through Lord of the Rings with Book 3, Chapter 2, The Riders of Rohan. Thanks for listening, and until next time, the road goes ever on.